while Wolverine attacks.
Unit in capture mode.
If you Tuxars have a plan, this would be...
The X-Men have always given us some of the most exciting story arcs over the years, with the likes of Apocalypse and Days of Future Past. These arcs have further paved the way for a vivid variety of villains. Let's take a look at one villain whose purpose is associated with memory and killing mutants. Yes, it sounds a bit like the Sentinels, but this villain has a tussle with Wolverine. Wolverine is haunted by a robot that is preventing him from finding out about his past. Sounds interesting, right? Let's jump in. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Be reprogrammed. If you resist, I will terminate you.
Another tin can?
Backstory of S.H.I.V.A the Destroyer, robot of Weapon X. Wolverine is one of the most essential characters in the extensive list of mutants we've seen in Marvel over the years. The character has been present during some of the significant events in Marvel and also turned out to be a formidable enemy to most of his opponents. But one thing that has always been a considerable part of his arc is his history, since initially, Wolverine didn't have any memory regarding his origin. Over the years, various plots have been developed, and they've branched out to some of the most fantastic storylines, paving the way for some great characters from both Wolverine's past and future. Project Weapon X is one of the key plot points in the arc for Wolverine, and it would give us an exciting insight into the character. Weapon X was a secret project by the US government that intended to experiment with superpowers for military purposes. The project was designed to replicate the Super Soldier program that turned Steve Rogers into Captain America, and later, this project would even be renamed Weapon I. Under Weapon X, a team of agents would be sent to capture Logan, and then he'd be used as the first test subject for the adamantium bonding process. Here, CIA decided to implant many fake memories into Logan's mind by building a cinematographic set to be projected in front of him. Professor Thornton, who was leading the project, decided to do this to weaponize Logan and control his behavior by using these memories as a trigger. But Logan managed to escape the facility where he was being experimented upon. And since he was at a stage of no memory, he unleashed full-on rage and managed to slay a lot of the staff members. This memory for Logan will play an essential role in bringing out the very character we will talk about now.
I am Talos. You are to be reprogrammed. If you resist, I will...
S.H.I.V.A. S.H.I.V.A was a failsafe created by the people behind the Weapon X program for the agents who tried to learn more about the program, even though their memory was wiped out. At any point, if by any chance the Weapon X project got compromised, S.H.I.V.A would be activated, and it would go against the agent who discovered the project. Even though there was no clear explanation regarding what the abbreviation S.H.I.V.A stood for, it becomes evident that it refers to the Hindu deity Shiva, also known as the Destroyer. The three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, stand for the Creator, the Preserver, and the Destroyer, respectively. Even though no other aspect of Shiva is picked for the character of Shiva, it does have the Destroyer aspect of it in the name. Let's explore the first narrative, where we witness Shiva and how he becomes a significant opponent for Wolverine. Backstory of S.H.I.V.A the Destroyer, robot of Weapon X. The Wolverines Volume 2, Issues 48 to 50, explored Wolverine's path to unleashing an enemy that will lead to an encounter he won't easily forget. In the S.H.I.V.A Scenario Trilogy arc, we see Wolverine keen to uncover the elements of his past. To do this, he brings Jubilee to Canada. The duo ends up discovering an abandoned facility next to a nuclear power plant, and this is none other than the base of operations for the Weapon X project. Upon entering the facility, Logan discovers a car that belonged to him and instantly goes through it. Doing so brings in a flash of memories that remind him of how he was captured by the agents for the program. As he was trying to fight all the armed men, they pumped him up with Thorazine and pistol whipped him until he passed out. Shaken by this, Logan falls to the ground, and a confused Jubilee tries to figure out what happened to him as he explains his flash of memory. As Jubilee continues to investigate the space, she discovers claw marks on a door and goes in to investigate further. Again, this triggers another flashback to the time when he was escaping this facility and went on a murder rampage, killing every member of staff on the way. Then another one of the flashbacks is triggered, and Logan is reminded of a mission that he went on along with Sabretooth back when he was working as an agent for someone. The duo banters before breaking into a room to take down someone named Mastodon. As the duo goes in guns blazing, the enemies hit Logan with bullets, and he falls on a file with a photo of his cabin back when he was living with Silver Fox. Meanwhile, he starts turning into a beastly figure, with his clothes ripped apart and wires wrapping all around his body. Just then, Silver Fox appears and starts commenting on whether Logan is a human or an animal. He starts wondering if he should let her live and discovers a pouch hanging from her neck. At the end of this flashback, he takes the same pouch from Jubilee's hand, as the latter had kept it as it was, along with the keys to the car. Sensing that this is too much for him, Logan returns to Xavier so that the professor can answer some of his questions. Also, the last flashback had someone looking like Xavier die amongst the people he was attacking. As they start heading back, a mechanical chamber in the shape of a body is seen opening up with the name 02 S.H.I.V.A marked on it. Back in the X-Men base, Jean Grey and Professor Xavier plan on putting Logan through some observation to help him identify his repressed memories, and different doors will mark each. As Wolverine goes in on this, everything around him turns into the environment when he escapes the facility for the Weapon X program. He butchers the staff on the way and runs around the place, but suddenly comes across a door that has a S.H.I.V.A no access without clearance written on it. He approaches the door and is about to get in when Sabretooth takes him elsewhere, talking about the assassination of John F. Kennedy and the setting around them changing to Cuba. Logan finds out that Sabretooth's name for this mission is supposed to be El Tigre, where he is Emilio Guerrara. The duo reaches a bar to see the coverage of the news regarding the assassination, and there they witness Lee Harvey Oswald being assassinated on live television. The entire situation plays out like Inception, as Wolverine is confused, trying to figure out which of these memories is real and which was planted to trigger him. Fans may remember this to be similar to how Winter Soldier was controlled by Hydra, using a prompt that provoked him and turned him into a weapon for them. Logan was also being held and triggered into his animalistic behavior based on dreams. But at the same time, we get to witness how Logan has been present at various places in history, and how he was involved in these situations at the time. The final memory he opens up is from his time at the Weapon X Project facility as the officials controlled him in the wild. He sees that he is conscious throughout it, but his movements are being held and talked about in the devices attached to him and his face. Wolverine comes across a bear, and the officials continue to analyze and observe him. Then he goes ahead and chops off the bear's head. But he takes off the goggles that cover his eyes to reveal that the decapitated head is his own. And then an army of Weapon X soldiers starts heading towards him. This environment changes, and he reverts to the room with Jean Grey and Professor X. The duo wakes him up before becoming more hostile, destroying the entire place and putting someone in harm's way. Logan gets furious and starts arguing that he is not an animal, which he has been accused of in many of the memories he just unlocked. He doesn't plan to give up anytime soon and decides to head out of the mansion for fresh air. Outside, we see him on his motorcycle going past a phone booth where Hines was observing him. Hines was assigned to keep track of him since he managed to trigger the silent alarms during his trip to the Weapon X facility in Canada. She called up the Pest Control Department of the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C., and reached out to Professor Thornton, who headed the Weapon X project. Thornton reassures Hines and tells her that Logan will not be a threat since he might end up activating the S.H.I.V.A initiative soon, which will be his end. With each issue, we start getting closer to S.H.I.V.A being released, and this is the issue where Wolverine will end up facing his past in the form of a ruthless killer. Logan goes inside the Citicorp building with his motorcycle to confront Nick Fury. He breaks through the window of the helicarrier and lands in front of Nick Fury. Then he asks him to give answers regarding his past, or he will leak information regarding some events in Cuba following the assassination of John F. Kennedy, which he saw in one of his unlocked memories. As Nick Fury complies with the request and a file is pulled out from the NSA's database, two places get notified, one being the Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C., and the second being a Hydra base. The Hydra leader doesn't get an instant reaction to this information, but does indicate its importance as he starts contemplating the piece of information. Logan visits the other location, the Department of Agriculture's Pest Control Agency, to talk to the professor based on Nick Fury's information, but he isn't allowed to get in. So he threatens to deal with this legally while Hines and the professor overhear everything from the inside. He says that he will go to the warehouse that appeared in his dreams and collect further information. The professor realizes that this is going perfectly, since he will go right to face his doom this way, and he tells Hines that they will also head to the same place. Before going to the warehouse, Wolverine returns to the X-Mansion and asks them to review the vast amount of information the NSA has handed him while he investigates the warehouse. But Jean Grey observes that he is wearing the same uniform that he wore the first time he worked with the X-Men, and it might indicate that he is regressing to the time when he was known as the Animal. Wolverine won't be the first person to reach the warehouse, as when he arrives, he is observed by the professor and Hines. But the actual deception opens up when he realizes the warehouse is nothing like how he saw it in the flashbacks. Here, everything is fake, and it all seems to be like a set with another set next to this one where he had the bar shootout memory. But the only set missing was the cabin. And Logan is happy that this memory was real and not planted on him during the experiments. The professor and Hines come across the console that controls who will soon be unleashed by Logan. As he continues to investigate further, Logan comes across the door to S.H.I.V.A after avoiding falling into a trap. He identifies this door right away from his memories, discovers a keyhole in it, and realizes that the keys to this door lie inside the pouch that he had gotten earlier from the car. Right then, we see S.H.I.V.A coming out and attacking Wolverine. As he fights back, the professor tells Hines that this robot was designed to eliminate rogue Weapon X agents. If it's destroyed, another similar robot will be activated. When Wolverine attacks and destroys the first one, another emerges and unleashes on him. Suddenly, the professor and Hines get attacked by the Hydra leader, who is none other than Silver Fox herself. S.H.I.V.A blasts Logan with mind probes that are particularly painful, considering they trigger every painful memory he has experienced. Silver Fox looks at the ongoing fight and finds out that they're fighting on the set that looks like a junior high prom. And this triggers a memory of where Logan got beaten up by some people for bringing a Native American to the prom. The professor takes this opportunity to attack Silver Fox, but the latter unloads her gun at him. Meanwhile, the X-Men arrive in time to discover that Wolverine has managed to destroy this S.H.I.V.A robot to bits. But Hines informs them that before dying, the professor has activated all the other S.H.I.V.A robots with Sabretooth as their primary target. Hearing this, the X-Men are concerned about all the other people on the list of Project X, while Wolverine is apathetic at the possible fate of Sabretooth. This shows a clear transition in how Wolverine is now, as he has more clarity about his past.
Green attack.
Unit in capture mode.
If you tough guys have a plan, this could be a
Wolverine's fateful encounter with S.H.I.V.A. But this won't be his last interaction with this robotic enemy that plans to destroy the life of one of his oldest friends turned foes, Sabretooth. In issue number 60 of the same series, the S.H.I.V.A robots reach Sabretooth, who is seen busy causing his own problem. The robots continue to attack him, and while destroying them, Sabretooth remembers the time that he was about to beat up Logan, his supposed son, when he discovered the latter having a Native American pouch with him. This was a false memory implanted in the Team X members. Before Sabretooth is about to be taken down again by another robot, John Wraith comes to his rescue and puts a bomb on the robot. The two left the place before the other S.H.I.V.A robot could come. Wolverine again faces this enemy during the events of Wolverine Origins Volume 1, Issue 1, when he suddenly has a lot of memories that come back to his stream of consciousness because of the events of House of M. He decides that he will kill everyone who is involved in molding his past and making him the animal that he once was. In the White House, the defense systems are suddenly shut down, and the president is rushed to Air Force One. But the one person who gets left behind is the Secretary of State, the same person that Wolverine was looking for since he was involved in tampering with his memories. But right then, a missile crashed onto the White House lawn, and a S.H.I.V.A robot came out of it. Before Logan can get to the Secretary of State to reveal the information regarding the experiments done on him, the S.H.I.V.A robot's executor. Wolverine uses his Muramasa blade to slice the robot into pieces before escaping into a tunnel near the White House.
Unit structurally compromised. Ames capture mode.
S.H.I.V.A's formidable powers and abilities unleashed. Now that we have some idea regarding how Logan and the S.H.I.V.A robots are somehow tethered together when it comes to Logan's past, let's look at the abilities of this robot that makes it quite the threat to the mutants. One of the first things that makes S.H.I.V.A a clever antagonist is that it is an AI and not the robot itself. Thus, if the robot is destroyed, the consciousness can jump somewhere else and continue its task. Not only that, but the AI learns from its past mistakes and learns to attack its target better the next time. It's also endowed with all the superhuman capabilities it will need to execute the mutant target. Besides this, the robot can generate a particular pulse in its enemy's mind that triggers painful memories, making them weak and vulnerable to attacks. This beam is called the Encephalo Beam and is one of the harshest weapons in Marvel Comics because of its torturous capability. Wolverine is a very complex character, and it's wild to imagine how every element of him has a story to tell. The S.H.I.V.A robots are much more like a memory that will haunt him till he takes the path of life that he has now decided to take to stray away from his history. One can see similarities between these S.H.I.V.A robots and the Sentinels, but the former is a lot more personal and could be a plotline to explore in a future Wolverine venture. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.